Welcome back to Starting Your Investment Journey audio series. I am Abiodun Adelu, and my mission is to help people build successful and meaningful lives through better decisions about money, work, wealth, and personal growth. Now, in this particular episode, we're going to be talking about something that is very critical in the financial world. It is called derivatives. So far, we've covered the first two major financial instruments, which are debts. Now, for debt, you are the lender, and equity, where you become the owner. So now we go to the third category, which is derivatives. And this is where many beginners get intimidated. Of course, you don't have to be intimidated. When they hear words like futures, options, swaps, you just immediately think, this is very complicated. But the core idea itself is very simple. Now, imagine a scenario where you are a baker, right? And your bakery uses a lot of flour. And flour prices keep changing every time. So today, a bag costs 20,000 naira. But you are worried that, what if in the next 6 months, the bag now costs 35,000 naira? That could seriously hurt your business. Is that not so? So you approach a supplier and you tell them that, let's agree today that 6 months' time, you will sell flour for me at 22,000 naira per bag. So let's say the supplier agrees. What you've just done is to enter something very familiar to a derivative contract, right? So it is similar to derivative contract, because the supplier, on the other hand, may also be wondering that what if the price reduced to 15,000 naira? So they will lose money, right? If the price increases to 30,000 naira, your cost will be higher. So if both of you agree on a price today, that price is binding on both of you in the future. That's how a derivative works. So a derivative is a financial contract whose value is derived from another asset. Now, note the key word, derived. A derivative gets its value from something else. It depends on something else, and it is built on top of something else. And that something else, in quotes, that something else is called the underlying asset. Now, the underlying asset can be, in the example I gave earlier, can be the flour that you use to bake bread. It could be a stock, it could be bond, it could be currency, it could be gold, oil, wheat, even interest rates, almost anything, right? So let's look at a simple mental model that you can use to understand this thing. Think of a derivative as a side agreement. You are not buying the asset itself, but you are creating a contract related to the assets. So let's compare. Buying gold means that you own gold. But a derivative on gold means that you own a contract connected to gold. There's a big difference, right? So the question is, why were derivatives created in the first place? Most people think that derivatives were invented for gambling, but they weren't. They were originally created for protection, for risk management, and for certainty. Now, let's think about our baker example again. Now, the baker doesn't want to speculate. They simply want predictable cost. And the supplier, on the other hand, they don't want uncertainty either. The supplier wants predictable sales. So a derivative contract helps both parties reduce uncertainty. And that process of reducing uncertainty is what we call hedging. 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 What is hedging? Hedging means reducing risk by locking in certain outcomes, right? So you are trying to reduce risk. You are not trying to maximize profit. You are trying to minimize unpleasant surprises. Farmers do it, airlines do it, banks do it, large corporations do it. Every day they do these things. For the airlines, so now you know that airlines use fuel, right, for the aircraft every time. And they know that the price of fuel can fluctuate over time. What if they have an agreement with a particular supplier that, irrespective of what the price is, for the next 3 months, this is how much you're going to sell it for us? The supplier, on the other hand, may also be wondering that, what if the price drops and I lose? So the airline is wondering, what if the price increases and we have increased cost? So if both of them are able to agree on a price today, what they do is to hedge, to lock in that particular thing against future fluctuations. So that is what it is. Now, we have a couple of derivatives, right? Let's look at the common ones. Let's start with the simplest one, a future. So what is a future? A future contract is an agreement that says that we will buy or sell something later at a price agreed today. Now, note the important word, we will buy, not we might buy, we will buy. So both parties are obliged or they are obligated to honor the agreement. Let's go back to our flour example. So if you agree to buy flour at 22,000 naira 6 months from now, you must buy it. The supplier must also sell it. It is binding on both of you. Even if the market price later becomes 15,000 naira, or it increases to 25,000 naira, or even 40,000 naira, the contract remains. It is a future. It is a future contract. Let's look at another common example of derivative. Options. So option is the second example of derivative. So, and for options, that's where many people have their breakthrough moments, because option is not just we must honor it. Option gives you a right, but not the obligation to buy or sell something at a predetermined price. So notice the difference. For future, it is an obligation. For option, it is a choice. Think about it like you are booking a hotel room. You pay a small amount today to reserve the room. So if you eventually travel, great, you use your reservation. But if your plans change, you may lose the reservation fee, but you are not forced to stay at the hotel. That is very similar to how an options work. So so let's look at it. What do you lose if you don't use the option? Because you know you already pay something, right? So that's the exact questions that many beginners ask. But the answer is very simple. You lose the premium. The premium is the price that you pay to acquire the option. Think of it as the reservation fee in the hotel example that we give. So let's look at another example in the share market. So let's say that a share is currently trading at 100,000, maybe 100 naira. So let's say maybe Dangote shares or Zenith Bank shares or Seplat shares. Of course, Seplat is more than 100 naira. But for the sake of example, let's say that a share is 100 naira. And you buy an option today, allowing you to purchase it at 100 naira later. So in other words, you are locking in the price. So when I want to buy it in the future, I'm going to buy it at this price, whether the price increase or falls, right? So the option costs you, let's say 5 naira. So if the share rises to 150, you may still exercise your option and benefit from it. But what if the price falls to 70 naira? You simply walk away. Why buy for 70 naira? Why buy for 100 naira when you can buy for 70 naira, right? So you won't buy it, but your loss is limited to the 5 naira premium that you pay, because you're not going to get that 5 naira back. So that is why options are often described as limited downside, but potentially significant upside. So now we've talked about two of them, futures and options. Let's look at a third one. Let's look at one more, swaps. So swaps are less common for individual investors, but they are very common for institutions. And a swap is simply an agreement to exchange one financial arrangement for another. Now, let's say, for example, a company has a loan with a variable interest rate. Variable interest rate means that the interest rate fluctuates, it changes with the market. Another company has a fixed interest rate that is fixed, it doesn't change with the market. So they may agree to exchange their payment structure, and that is a swap. That exchange is a swap. So as a beginner, right, you don't need to master swap, but the important thing is to understand that they exist to manage financial risks. So why are derivatives widely used? They are widely known because they can be used for two very different purposes. Number one is protection. They can help you to reduce uncertainty, to manage risk, and to create stability. And the purpose two is for speculation. So that is if you are trying to profit from price movements. So the same tool can be used for both. It can be used for protection, it can be used for speculation. Like the example I gave earlier about locking in a price at 100 naira. Let's say the price goes up to 150. They will still sell it for you at 100 naira because you have the right to buy it at that price. But if the price goes down, you don't have to buy it. That is for options, right? But if it is future, you will have the obligation to buy it. So people use it for speculation, and they use it to lock in a price and then buy it in the future and make money from it. But here is a key insight. Derivatives are not primarily about ownership. They are not primarily about lending also. They are primarily about managing exposure to risk. So that is their original purpose. The original purpose is to hedge, is to manage your exposure to risk. So bringing the three of them together, At this point, you now understand the three major categories of financial instruments, right? We have debt. For that one, you will become the lender and you earn interest. For equity, you become the owner and you earn income on investment and benefit from capital gain. And number three, we've learned about derivatives, where you manage or transfer risk. So you use contract linked to other assets. So these three building blocks form the foundation of the modern finance today. If you understand the three of them, you already understand the basics, the foundation of modern finance. So debt is about lending, equity is about ownership, and derivatives is about managing uncertainty. And once you understand those three concepts, much of the financial world suddenly becomes far less mysterious to you. You won't be confused again. But now, here's a reality, and that takes us to where we're going to next. Most people don't buy bonds directly, especially at the beginning. Most people never trade derivatives directly. Most people don't build their own portfolio from the scratch. Usually what they do is that they invest through a professionally managed basket. And that basket is what we call mutual fund. And it is the most popular investment vehicle in the world. So it is like buying a bundle of assets rather than buying a single asset. Thank you for listening. Remember that you should always learn before you invest. Remember that you should always build before you buy, and think long term. In the next episode, we'll talk fully on mutual fund. Thank you and see you in the next episode.